right outside First Niagara Center in Buffalo, New York. It's the panel brought to you by Sport Chek. It's also draft day, a very exciting day. I don't know if it's as exciting as draft day last year for the Oilers and for Oilers TV. It's still exciting, but guys, a lot of talk yesterday. I don't know how much of it was true and how much of it was legitimate, but let's break down what we know going into what should be an exciting Friday in the NHL.
Well, last year was more of a coronation than anything else. Edmonton knew it was drafting a generational player in Connor McDavid. Everyone knew what that first pick was going to be, and indeed Edmonton strode to the podium and selected Connor McDavid. I actually expect the same thing today. Okay. With all the talk, circumstances, and potential deals out there, the fact remains that, a top 5 pick hasn't been dealt on draft day in more than a decade and a half. And
16 years?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen again, this afternoon. I think the Oilers are going to stride to the podium at number 4 and make their pick. And that pick I expect to be Matt Tkachuk.
Okay, Bob, first of all, do you agree with this? Secondly, a lot of talk yesterday. What do you make of what's going on?
First of all, I tend to agree with Jack. I think the stronger probability is that teams will stick to their guns and hold on to their pick. But there's one different factor this year, and that's the expansion draft, and whether or not that drives further valuation in the actual pick. So, could I see the Columbus Blue Jackets, because of some of the challenge, like maybe they get somebody to take a contract to drop down a couple spots because they've got so many guys on no movement clauses. The Oilers, Peter Chiarelli initially said the pick was available. He was open for business. More recently, he said yesterday, better than a 50% chance he holds the pick. So I lean towards Jack's side, but I do think it is a little bit different this year because of the expansion draft.
People are probably going, come on, we want to hear something. Who are teams to watch today? Because there's got to be some action today.
Well, I think the later you go in the draft, the more likely, a deal comes into play. Carolina's got 2 first-round picks. There's other teams with a couple first-round picks late. And quite frankly, I think if the Oilers are going to put a package together, the likelihood is more day 2. They've got 3 third-round picks. Perhaps
they did it last year.
Exactly. Perhaps even the 32nd overall selection is in play at some point. But, I also think 32 could be a situation where Edmonton makes a play for a goaltender. But if it's immediate help they covet, and Peter Chiarelli, I think yesterday indicated he's not necessarily holding himself to July 1, waiting to potentially after July 1 for that help. But if there's immediate help at the draft, expect maybe the 32nd overall selection to come into play, along with the volume of picks that Edmonton possesses at this draft.
9 picks. Stoff, who are you watching today?
Well, I'm watching Colorado for sure. I think something's up there. I think they're looking for a little bit of a philosophical change in terms of some of their players, maybe a bit of a culture change. Anaheim Ducks, do we see Fowler get moved even before the draft?
A lot of talk.
How about Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is going to be a team to watch. New York Rangers, potentially a team to watch.
Yeah.
And then there's the Montreal Canadiens. And, they've obviously got a pretty high-end player we're hearing a lot about. But anyhow, we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out. But as Jack opened up with, usually we think there's going to be all of this movement. It's like The Bachelor, right? The most dramatic rose ceremony.
Watch that show?
No, my wife watches that show.
That
No,
right
my
now?
wife. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and my wife and daughter watch that show. But it's always the most. Every year we think this is going to be the most dramatic draft.
We want to will it to happen.
Right,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it does. But this, because of the expansion draft, we might see a little bit more activity than normal.
St. Louis Blues, another team.
St. Louis Blues. Yeah, absolutely. What time do you guys go on air on 6:30 Ched today?
We got 5 hours of coverage starting at 4 Mountain Time, and then another 3 on Saturday, 8 to 11 Mountain Time. So 8 hours of 6:30 Ched coverage.
8 hours of coverage on 6:30 Ched alongside Reed Wilkins. Of course, I've got you covered here on Oilers TV. Chris Westcott has got you covered on EdmontonOilers.com.